welcome to Keeping Up with the Chaldeans. We have Chris Abro here, my co-host, Junior Binno.
Celine Gasso here.
Hi, everybody.
Thanks for having me.
Good luck with everything, buddy. Take care. I really
Which
listen.
one are you going to try first?
So what's going to separate you from every other trainer out there?
How's it going, Renee? Oh, no.
I've been doing creme brulee stations, and so we torch creme brulees on site for the guests.
Hey everyone, welcome to Keeping Up with the Chaldeans. We are here at the new studio. This is our 50th episode, a very special benchmark for us. We get a chance to kind of flip the tables around a little bit, and since it's our 50th episode and it is something special, we wanted to do something extremely special. And Junior had the idea, and along with Chris, to share his courageous story. He's going to lay out some struggles that he went through. He's going to lay out some solutions for some other people that are out there that are going to or have to deal with the same thing. I'm going to kick it over to Chris Abro. He's going to give you some insight on what we're going to cover. He's going to give you a little information about Junior, and then we're going to roll with the show.
All right, sounds good. So a lot of you guys know Junior. He's this fun, loving, always got a smile on his face, always the guy on the dance floor breaking it down.
Winning rap battles.
Yeah, that's Junior. So everyone knows him as that guy. But underneath all that, Junior has a story to tell. So some of you guys might not know the story of some of the things that Junior's gone through. So Junior's here on the show, and he's gonna give us a little background of who you are and where you came from, and get into your story.
Power, baby.
Thanks, guys.
Let's go, Jay.
Thanks for having me. I'm happy to have had both of you do the interview. I've had a long-term relation with both of you in different ways. You've been my very close personal friend for over 20 years of my life. You've been my boy. AT, you've always been that older homie. So it's always been good to look up and see someone.
Good to be the older homie. I love
You're only a year older than me, so
what
I'm saying. So
right.
we'll take it.
I'm the younger homie. You're the older homie.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm the guy in between.
Yeah.
So it's good to have the ability to be able to speak on this. When stuff happened to me 20 years ago, first I'd like to mention that I'm dedicating this interview to my mother. Today's December 3rd. We lost her 20 years ago today. So we're going to commemorate this episode for her and let it be known. The difference in today and the difference of 20 years ago is 20 years ago when something happened, you either had to get the hearsay by a phone call. You had to know who's who and what's what to know what exactly went down. Whereas today, 20 years later, even though social media can have a negative connotation, you still have the positive side of it and can keep up with people that you may have not seen or know what's going on now by it being posted. And as much as you want to look at it, it still can be supportive when you get the outpour of the comments and the likes and all that stuff in these times, in these situations. We didn't have that back then.
Yeah, it was a lot different.
It was a lot different. So I'm going to get into letting you guys know some of the stuff from day one till now. First and foremost, I was born back in 75. Prior to me being born, 3 months to that, my father was murdered inside of a party store in Detroit. So I never had the chance to even meet him. It sucks, and that's a whole other topic, but my mom moved on. We had 2 siblings and myself at the time. I was my older brother, Omar, and my sister, Marianne. When my mom remarried a couple years after my father's death, she ended up having 3 more children. So I've got a younger sister and 2 younger brothers. I got Michelle, Angelo, and Andrew. Those are my siblings. With that, being fresh as Chaldeans here in this country, I'm first generation. My mom not only had to experience the death of my father, but she also had to experience having 2 visually impaired children, my older brother and my younger brother. Both of them have retina pigmentosa, RPG. And what it is it's a degenerative condition that will eat away at your healthy cells in your eyes, which then leads to you going blind. You know, when I was younger, I'd be able to do stuff with my brothers. It wasn't the way it is today, but these guys have overcome a lot themselves. So I got to experience that side before it even got to my side of the situation and understand handicapped style life. So as time went on, you know, you go through grade school, high school, you know, not paying attention to real life things, how my brothers couldn't go to Catholic schools and I was able to because they were able to support us and not somebody who's visually impaired.
Sure.
So I didn't really understand it and understand the advantages that I had being fully fledged with physical health and mental health. Well, around 1991, I was going to Orchard Lake St. Mary's and my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer. At that time, it was something new. There wasn't many Chaldean women that had faced anything like that.
Sure.
She had to have her breast removed. She went through her chemotherapy and stuff like that. And you know, and at that time, you know, I'll tell you this, in 91, it was different because the focus was so driven onto my mother, which it always should be in any case. A mother is the glue to a household.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up starting to fail a little bit in school because no direction was really going towards myself, and you know, I was the middle child, so I'm going both ways, tugging between the emotions of my mother and then, you know, now in school being loose and being free without nobody supervising me. So I started lacking, things started going a little sour, and I didn't do as good as I did, and I was disappointing her, and I didn't even realize it, how bad it was. So I go on to college, but in between that, because of her situation, our siblings had to inherit a lot of responsibilities. Cooking, cleaning. So I enjoy cooking, believe it or not, before the loss of the arm and after the loss of the arm, you know.
So this was due to your mom being
diagnosed with breast cancer.
Yep. You guys ended up taking on a much bigger role.
Home
in the household.
responsibilities. Yep. Obviously, my brothers, it was tough. Omar really couldn't because at that time he was starting to lose his vision a little bit more. By the time he got to 18, it was worsening at that time. Mind you, a lot of people don't know him well enough, but the guy would ride bikes with me from my house on Walnut and Orchard Lake all the way down to Lone Pine, and we'd go to CVS together at that time, Rite Aid.
Okay, so at one point he was able
to see. So it progressed, and as it did, it got worse off.
Okay.
So again, I still tell you that I didn't appreciate and respect the fact that I still had my own eyes and my own arms and legs and everything. So fast forwarding that, my mom went through chemo, lost her hair, lost weight, went through all that stuff, and we had to understand that she's gonna recover. You know, this is mom. Look, she's still smiling.
Sure.
All the
Strongest person in the whole wide world that you knew.
Man, she was, you know, she would beat my ass a lot. I'm not gonna lie to you because, you know, I was a little vigilant.
What mom didn't?
Yeah,
Mom
mom
didn't. Yeah.
Yep. So I had that. You know, and she was very hard on me because of the fact that I was still in her womb when my father was killed.
Yeah.
So now we get to I'm in college for a few years, and you know, here comes 21 years old, and I just, you know, with all the attention with my mom and the way things were going, her scare wouldn't allow me to grow up. What I mean by that is, at 19, 20 years old, I still had to be home by 11 o'clock, 11:30. By the time I had turned 21, I remember coming home at 11:45, 12 o'clock at night, and she was throwing my clothes out the front door because she didn't want me to be out.
Sure.
So
She was
she was
making a
worrisome.
point.
Yeah, well, she was worrisome because she saw it as a cruel world. You know,
Yeah,
her husband was taken, her kids are visually impaired. You know, the weight of the world was on her shoulders now.
Yeah, we don't realize it. She's just she's looking out for her children.
Yep. Even though they may have
Which
not
you're
did it
supposed
in the nicest, softest way, they were meaning the best.
She
Absolutely.
couldn't take another setback. She didn't want.
Nope,
If
that
something
phone
happened
call.
to Junior,
Yep.
to. Yeah.
Yep.
you know,
So I went to college for a little bit, and I figured by 21 years old, this wasn't common for Chaldean men or women. I decided to up and move. And I up and moved, and the first day
what does
was...
that mean? Up and move what?
Okay, I'm
Where'd you
sorry.
go?
Good. I left the house.
Okay.
I moved out.
At
which
what
was
age?
At 21.
Okay.
Which again was not common because our moms always wanted us to be at home as long as they could until we were ready to get married.
Of course.
So let me back you up real quick. So from high school to college, 21 before you moved out, did your mom beat cancer?
She had gone through chemo. She came back around from it, and she did at that time.
At that time, she beat cancer.
Yep, she had beat it. She did have her breast removed, like, you know, and today's day and age, I'm not very well versed on it, but I know now from the women that I do speak to that have it, they actually remove both just in case, because a lot of times
That's
it comes
the
back.
smarter move.
Yep. So I did this in commemoration of her. I ended up putting the breast cancer symbol on my arm. It's got her initials. It's got the cross and the
cross.
faith at the end of it. So
What is that? The fish?
it's faith.
It's
The fish
faith?
is the faith. Yep.
The fish
Yep,
is
it's Christian faith.
Okay.
Yep. And then the other end has the cross on
Yep,
it.
I see
So
that.
it's the
I
rosary
wasn't
wrapped
sure
around
what
her.
what the fish meant.
Yep. Yep.
That's nice.
Yep. It's a form of faith and peace.
Okay.
So you ended up moving out.
So I ended up moving out at 21 years old. She wasn't for it. She was pissed as hell because it wasn't common for them to do that, you know?
No.
She said to me in
She couldn't
Chaldean...
make up her mind. She was kick you out, or she wants to keep you in.
she didn't...
Throwing your clothes out one day.
That was the thing,
They
you
want you
know?
out, but they want to
Tough
hold you
love,
down.
Yeah,
right?
tough
That's
love.
what they gave us was
Absolutely.
tough love, you know? So you know, she hit me with this sentiment before I walked out. She said to me in Chaldeans,
That's it.
so what that means is once you're out the house, there's no coming back.
Once you leave, you're done.
So I had to make my move, and I did it. First day I was with my Aunt Najiba, God rest her soul. She put me in the first 2 days, but it was no different than living at home. You know what I'm saying? She was not giving me the key. She was like, knock on the door when you get ready to come home. I was like, I can't do this.
So who's Najiba?
That's my mom's sister, who
Okay.
took me in at first.
And did she have?
She had one daughter, Rita.
Uh-huh.
Yep, she was already married off and gone, so I was just living with her at the time.
Wow.
Yep. So I was just with her at the time. And a couple of days later, I said, you know, it's not going to be much different. I'm not really learning my responsibilities to be on my own.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up living with a buddy for about a good couple months. He drove me crazy. And I was telling...
Can we out this guy?
We can. It's fine. He'll probably get shits and giggles on it, too. It's Marvin Asker.
Okay.
I lived with Marvin for a couple...
Money.
Yeah, Money Marvin.
Rugrat, you.
Poof. They call him Poof these days. But I lived with him for a couple months. The guy loved smoking cigarettes, which you think he still does. I couldn't deal with it anymore. It was driving me nuts. Mm-hmm. So my cousin Pete Raban got wind of it, and he said, I'm going to talk to my mom and have you come live in with us. So it was him, my older cousin Kamal, and actually...
Keith.
Yep, Big Keith. And actually Keith was 12 years old and in the store when my father passed. He was there when my father was killed. So he's been struggling with it since he was 12 years old. And
He actually witnessed.
Wow.
he witnessed it.
He witnessed it. Yeah.
Yep.
At 12 years old.
At 12 years old. So I got to move in with them. Their mom, my Aunt Suad Rabban, God rest her soul, man, that lady went through hell and back. So she understood, you know what I'm saying? Her kids who loved me so much wanted me in to live with them.
Right.
And I was always close to all of them. Like my brothers.
Did you live on Everett?
No, what it was is we lived in West Bloomfield, but we were very few Chaldeans that lived there. So in tradition, you were either in Southfield, Oak Park, or 7 and Woodward on the weekends to just be around a bunch more Chaldeans and your family, because that's where everybody was.
Did you live with Jason and them?
I lived with Pete. Nope, I lived with Auntie Suad, Pete, and Kamal.
Oh, this was
Yep,
after they
this was
left.
after
After
after ever Southfield.
Okay,
Yep,
gotcha,
after they
okay.
moved, I ended up living over there with them. I lived with them for a few years. While I was going through this, I started working for a company called PageTel.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of the hottest trending first pager companies until it
Yeah,
became
yeah.
in '97 one of the hottest prepaid cell phone companies in the country.
Were they in? Were they out of like Coolidge?
7 and Wood. I'm sorry, 7 and Southfield.
Southfield.
Yep, on
7
7 and
and
Ashton,
okay.
right next to the church.
Who owned that
over there.
back in the day?
That was Leif Kaskorgas,
Okay.
who owned it, and
What's LK doing now?
he's actually
Like I know him.
it's all right. He's actually he
Adam.
and it's okay to say it. He owns a dispensary today.
Okay.
That's where he's at, a state licensed one. So that's what he's been
Congrats.
doing.
Good for him.
He took his own little tumble, and I'll get into why, because it kind of relates to my life and all that. But I started working for this gentleman. It was a great feeling. He's related to us from a distance. When I called him, he knew who my mother was and my brother Omar was. So I went ahead and...
Well, most people know your mom. Well, my mom tells stories about your mom telling jokes,
Not clean ones.
not clean ones.
No.
Not clean ones.
Anytime your mom's name comes up, that's what I
Dirty
always
Joe.
I always hear that
My
too.
mom
yeah.
says that.
But
My
they always
aunt
say
says
this
that,
though.
that-
It was in good nature the dirty jokes.
Oh,
Like
yeah,
it wasn't
yeah,
like
yeah,
it was
it wasn't.
Yeah.
no. So and it's
No.
true. Like I could never amount to the way she will put 200 people in a room and throw down on jokes.
Do you know any of that? Do you remember any of them? I mean, jokes are hard to even remember.
I'll tell you one at the end.
Okay.
I got one at the end. She told me it was pretty
so
funny.
stay tuned, folks.
Yep. So I'll give one at the end. So we ended up going through with like living, and I'm sorry. So I'm at Page Tell, and then
Yep.
I'm living with my cousins
Yeah.
now. So we're getting along very well, and they understood. My aunt Suad was pretty close with my father, so she always would say to me, "I see your dad in you." So so that always, she kept me around because it always gave her reminiscence. And she loved me.
Yeah, I hope so.
So it was all of us living together. I'm working at PageTel, and in 1997 he started his prepaid company. At that time, we took it to a whole nother level. I was rocking with him, riding with him. I mean, the numbers were just unbelievable, and he got to the point that Detroit wasn't enough, Michigan wasn't enough. He was able to expand the markets out of state, and that was around 1998. So a year after he launched his services, I said, man, I can't do this retail. I don't like this. I don't want to stand behind no counter for 10 hours a day. I want to start traveling. He brought me to his home and offered me the opportunity of getting on board with Ohio immediately.
Okay.
He said, I can give you everything but Toledo because it's part of the Detroit market. You go take it on. I said, hell yeah, I like this. Let me do it. I got on with a guy who I brought on at the time was Rocky Francis. He came on. A lot of people know him from the pager days back in the days, and he's a wild guy.
Sweetheart of a guy.
Yeah, cool guy, but he was wild and fun too, and we did a lot together. And Rock had gotten into a little trouble at that time, so he couldn't travel. So I took on the traveling. He maintained the work for us back home off of 7 in Southfield and would fire off whatever I need to. 3 to 4 days a week I would travel from Cleveland, Ohio, Akron, Cincinnati, Columbus. I would be out there and I would run game for those 3 to 4 days and sell my heart out until I got back. I was producing the highest volume sales in the company at some point. Just one city alone was giving me about $6 million worth of business a year.
Jeez.
Wow.
My commission off of that was between $10,000 to about $12,000 to $13,000 a month.
So here you are. You're 23 years old, coming into this kind of money.
Yes.
Okay.
Not a clue what to do with it, but spend it. Okay, and that's a big problem that we as Chaldeans come to, is that when we amass so much money, if you don't have if you don't have the literacy to understand financial wealth, it's not the wealth that's the bad part about it. It's your literacy to the wealth that you make.
Sure.
When I tell you blowing money, I partied with the best of them, dressed with the best of them. We'd go to Bernini's in the middle of the day to go pick up $600-700 jackets, pants, and leave, and then we would be at the topless bars spending $800 to $1,200 a night. Cell phone bill alone was $1,800 to $3,000 at that time a month. My aunt would tell me, "Are you crazy?"
Yeah, those were crazy. Those were crazy times, man. Those cell phone bills,
Yeah,
they were insane.
Yes.
Yeah, the price
Yes.
per minute.
Well, you traveled. There was no roaming either.
Insane.
Remember
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So I had to travel.
Yeah.
So during this time with PageTel, I was being paid $500 a week on top of the commission I was making.
Okay.
I started making so much commission that I didn't want that control over me. I figured I could knock this all out within about 25 to 35 hours a week anyway, right? I went to Lathe. I said, cut my payroll off. Consider me your independent contractor now, and let me just do what I got to do. I'll pay for my hotels, my cell phone bills, anything that I have expense, I'll take care of it. He agreed upon it. Well, everything was rocking. We were doing well. I keep in touch with my mom. My sister Marianne had been married around 96 to Mike Sarafa.
Mr.
And-
Mike Sarafa.
Yep, great guy.
Good man.
And in May of 99, they had their first child, Renna, my beautiful niece. And so I would more often than come over when I'd come home to see Renna and my mom had started some points of chemotherapy at first. Okay, this was her first sign. She started taking pills and stuff. And my God, you guys, when you'd come down, the heartbreaking things you'd see on that kitchen counter, 15 vials sitting in front of you. And it hurts because it's like you feel so weak, not knowing what those are and what they're really doing to her. So at that time, in 91, when she had gotten that, first cancer, and then back in '99 when it came back again.
Oh, so yeah, so that you.
That's
you
what I'm telling you.
mentioned
So
that, so 99.
it came back. So I should go back in the beginning of '99. My mom's cancer returned. She was coughing up a few days in a row, and then when they took her in, they put the tube through her back, and her fluids came back a few weeks later with cancerous cells in them.
Okay.
So, as kids, and I say kids because even though 23, 24, you're not a kid, you're a grown man, but I say kid because you're her kid. As her kid, you think, Mom's got cancer. She already fought it, she beat it, she's going to do it again. So you take a step back and you let her make things happen, and she's doing her things, and she's going through her hair losses again and all that stuff.
Okay.
Usually they say by your 8th year it's not supposed to return when you've gone through remission
Right.
for so long. On her 8th year it came back. In that time, she had joy and she had pain. She had joy from Rena being born and having her first granddaughter to the pain of dealing with her cancer.
Sure.
So I was now traveling already for the company, and when I'd come back into town, I'd work my way to go see her and go see the kid, you know, my niece and stuff, and she just, it wasn't clearing, so they just realized that they gave her a break from the chemo for a minute,
Okay.
and she was, it almost felt like, okay, like maybe she's gonna get better, things are gonna get good. So I said, you know what, let me rock this even harder, because my point is that I want to hopefully give my mother a home one day. You know, because my older brother, he's visually impaired, things started becoming harder for him. My older sister, as a woman, she's married, she now has her own family to be taken care of. I'm next up, I gotta be the guy to be handling stuff. And it ended up being that for some reason Omar wanted to leave. He was now wanting to be on his own. He was getting fed up. Things were getting tight at home again. Focus was directed elsewhere. He said, do you care if I move in, if we go get a place together and we live together? And I'm still living with my aunts, Saad and Pete and Keith at this time. And I said, you know what, that's fine. Because, you know, Auntie, she needs her own room. And Pete, they got to just, you know, I don't want to be their burden anymore.
Right.
So around February, March, around that time, we ended up moving together at Strawberry Lane Apartments over on 12 Mile Middleville.
Okay.
And to this day, there's people that will still tell you JB from 203, JB from Strawberry Lane, and all
That's
that
how
other
we
stuff.
remember, yeah.
The reason they said that was because my mom gave me a gift and a curse. She always told me, and she always showed me, be as humble as you can and give as much as you can without worrying about receiving anything. So my house was a haven house. I opened up a safe place for everybody and anybody to walk through, whether you needed to eat, whether you were laid off from work, whether you were hurting or going, whatever it was, and you just need to get, whether you wanted to play Super Nintendo or some James Bond with me. You were there till 3 a.m. or sleeping on my couch. I gave that to them. And I, for some strange reason, I can't explain why or what, something transpired at Pagetel. I still don't know to this day what happened. I walked in and I was bombarded by Lath and a couple others, his brother and a couple of others that were there, and says, I gotta let you go. And I stood back for a second. I said, what? So you gotta let me go. I said, why? He said, well, you're not doing this and you're coming and going and you're out partying too much. And I said, but that's what I did as an independent contractor, not on your dime anymore. Why would you want to let me go? I'm producing the best for you. No, this and that, and you know, Rocky had just gotten off his tether, and I don't know if maybe they looked at it as now we can cut one guy out and do this. And being young at 23, 24 years old, you don't understand contracts as much as you would today, because today
Sure.
we've experienced more,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So I never knew, let me tie this contract in, let me sign off on it, let me do this and all that. And I got booted out. So I'm making 10 to 12 grand a month, and these bills were still gonna come. I was let go, and I quickly had to adjust. I sat on the couch for a couple of days, moping about it. I got up and I was like, man, I mean, I'm a valuable person in the industry. A lot of people know me at the time. I mean, the Barishes were at AirPage, you know, the Daddos were at Beeper Express and so forth. And I said, someone's going to pick me up. So I went and tried to get on with them. And I tried, and it wasn't there. I was like, man, these guys aren't what this guy's doing. I was with this guy to the point, just so the public knows, I helped him with a prepaid program. I got the man inside of multiple 7-Elevens across Midwest. Okay, as a Chaldean owner, that was huge for the first accomplishment to deal with a major corporation like that and get your product inside their store.
Sure.
From that point, it put that man's company on the front cover of Wall Street Journal. Okay, and to understand why I was let go, it just boggled me because I was part of that to help it come. But what it took me to was experience other people and say, damn, these guys' companies are not going to be what I just was a part of. I worked my way to find a person who is now an independent contractor. That independent contractor was still working with PageTel. And I said, hey, I have a lot of contacts. I have a strong network. Can you get me on with you? He said, sure. I give that man credit to this day. Sahar Dado. You guys may know him. Maher Dado's brother. Sahar used to be a singer back in the days. And Sahar took on and said, I have Indianapolis. Try that out in Indiana. Give it a shot. There in Fort Wayne. I said, you know what? Okay, it's part of the Midwest. Let me do it. I tried it, and about 2 weeks into it, went sour. I was like, this is not where I want to be. This is nothing like home. Nothing like Cleveland. Nothing like any of theirs. Came back. I said, can you give me a different opportunity? This is just not where I like it, but I like being with you. Sure. He said, what do you think about St. Louis, Missouri? I said, never been there, but I don't mind giving it a chance. So I ended up flying out there. At this time, I had grown so close with my cousin Pete Raban that he was working at Mario Max and he didn't really care for it anymore, apprenticing at that time, that he's like, can I ride with you? Because it seems like that's the new thing that's happened. I said, of course. Come with me, try out these cities, see if you like it. He came with me to St. Louis. We dug it. Right away, I popped off some major numbers, 30,000 plus right away. Started rocking. Sales went to 60. And here I am, back on the grind again.
Back on your feet again.
Yep, back on my feet, to the point of like, I'm making money, because listen, when you go from 10 to 12 grand a month back down to $1,500 to $2,500 a month, that's a major adjustment. Just my cell phone bill was that alone.
Sure. Absolutely.
So I had to make quick adjustments. We got an extended stay out there, which is extended stay, the hotel that allows you to stay weeks to months at a time.
Yep.
And about, now this is September, so October, we're loving it. Things were rocking now. And my mom's cancer wasn't really going away. It was lingering. She wasn't getting what she was before where she recovered. So they were still back and forth through trials and other testing and stuff on her. In October, I ended up coming back over here. And I discussed it with the siblings. I'm moving. I'm done. I'm not traveling. I'm not going to go back and forth with this. I'm just going to go ahead and get myself in. And I'll be in St. Louis, and I'll come out here since it's only an hour flight, weekends, couple times a month. My brother was supportive of it, my older brother. My younger ones were young at the time. I mean, they were still in high school.
Yeah.
And Omar had to find his way to go move with a friend of his because now I'm able to get out of this apartment, and now he's now going to go do his thing. And it was great to know that he was supported by a friend to welcome him in and get that going.
Who was that?
Angelo Boji.
Oh, boy.
Yep. When things were good in his life.
Yeah.
Okay.
Angelo's a good guy.
Yep, he's a good guy. He had some
was one of
mishaps.
the good guys, yeah.
Yep. Some mishaps in his life. And
He'll be back.
Yep.
In like 20 years.
Yep. So my brother, he accepted my brother, and they were friends because they used to have their band El Najum at that time doing music. So he accepted him in, so he did that. So I knew that I had my way out. Pete explained it to his mom and everybody at that time. Listen, I'm going to do it. We'll be back a couple years. PageTel knew about it, not directly, but through Sahar, that we were going to be the ones. There was no regrets about it. They knew they were going to get their star stunner out there. So I ended up coming back October, made that decision, went back to St. Louis. We found an apartment. Everything was good. We're ready to rock and roll. Moving it now to the week of November 10th.
Okay.
November 10th, 99. We were prepared for someone to drive a truck from here in Michigan and drive it to St. Louis, help us get whatever we need to get from there in. I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. I apologize. Go back is the person, we were supposed to fly in, load the truck up, and the person was going to drive it out and meet us back in St. Louis for us to unload. Okay?
All
of our
belongings
furnitures
here.
and belongings from here.
Okay.
So this is Monday. We're locked and loaded. We're good. My cousin Neil has got us ready to go for picking us up from the airport and all that. My cousin Neil, which is Pete's older brother, was one of my strongest supporters, and I'll tell you how after. He had everything prepared for us to get in. He went and boxed things for us to help us out ahead of time. He went to my place. That's one of the most humble guys you would have ever met.
God rest his soul.
Yep.
Yeah.
So Wednesday comes, and we get a phone call. Guy Joe says, "Hey, I didn't recall, but it's my sister's wedding this weekend. How you don't remember it's your sister's wedding the weekend you're supposed to come drive?"
Sister's wedding.
You know, so it's like, holy cow. So now we're scrambling. He can't drive. We've already got the apartment locked. We already got the flights in order and everything. So I just said, Pete, let's just go do it ourselves, man. I don't have time to ask nobody anymore. Let's just catch the flight, do what we got to do. So Wednesday night comes along. We call Neil and said, listen, Thursday, can you book us a truck, a U-Haul truck? And we're going to go ahead and just get the flight in and fly in on Friday morning and get into what we got to do, hit the ground running. And then it's kind of, you know, they say the law of attraction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When the first thing happened, multiple things happened.
It's a domino effect.
Yeah.
Huge. It went from that to Thursday night, it's Thursday going into Friday. Friday morning around 1:30 a.m., I get a phone call from my brother. He's in frantic mode. And I said, what's wrong? It's Omar. He said, the door was busted in. I was able to get in here. I said, what's going on? He said, the pipe broke on the dishwasher when I did the dishes. It leaked so much into the complex underneath us.
This is at Strawberry Lane.
It's at Strawberry Lane.
Somebody came and kicked the door.
The fire department had to come in and bust the door down to get the water off and all that. And, you know, he's blind. He doesn't know what's going on or the severity of it. He just knows he's walking on wet carpet and going to his room and stuff. And all of our boxes my stuff was laid in that living room.
Wow.
So some of it was wet and all that, but I didn't know that until I got home. So I said, listen, just do what you got to do. You know, get to Mary Ann's or somehow get them help you till I get there. I'll be there in the morning. I'll be there about like noon. So that was the second call that shook us a little bit. Like, damn. We get in Friday. Friday was okay. Go with the fam. Go hang out. Go see friends. Go see everybody. Go get the rest of the stuff rocking. Saturday morning, and I didn't say this, so I want to tell you. Saturday morning was 1 week into my mother already going into her next round of radiation. Okay? She had already started that while I was in St. Louis preparing to get back over here. Okay. Radiation, chemo, all that, it's basically you're pushing poison through the body to try to eliminate anything that's in the body. Mm-hmm. This was the most strongest one that you can run with because whatever it was so bad that it was starting to take toll on her. So I said, Saturday, let me just go visit her. And I went to go visit her, and a couple of the women were there. My aunt and my other aunt were there. And I said to her, she said to me in Chaldean, she said, Babi Qaizi Zadok, Ibukhad Kabira Para Acha in Detroit. And that was basically her saying, don't leave. You can make enough money here. There's no need for you to get out of here. And I said, Mom, don't worry about it. I'm going to rock it. I'm going to do so good. I did so great out here that I'm going to kill it over there, you know. Don't worry. I'll be back. 2 years, I promised her. 2 years. Mm-hmm. In her mind, it was the same mom from 24 years ago. I don't want shit to go wrong. I don't want to get that phone call. So I promised her things would be good. So we left out of there, kissed her goodbye, and I came home. And I got everything ready, reboxed, because everything that got wet needed to get reboxed because it was tearing from the bottom. Mm-hmm. So Neil was there again. Mind you, just for the viewers to know, Neil had already gone through cancer twice at this point in time and beat it. He had already gone the second time through it, and he would still put all effort and whatever it could be to help myself and Pete out. He loved the two of us completely.
He's a boss, man.
So we get in Saturday, we help clean everything, get it all in order, box everything up, and this and that. And we had to leave Sunday evening because it was a very, very important game for Pete at the time. Saturday was cool. We did what we did. Here comes Sunday morning. I got up very bright and early because Anthony and Pete's team were 8-0, I believe, that season.
Yeah. Oh, this is for
This is for CFL, which is the Chaldean Football League, and they used to play it at Harrison High School. So I lived on 12 in Middle Belt, so I was able to quickly
right around the corner,
around the corner, come there, and I was able to watch the guys. And I was pumped because I was like, man, AT's about to win the championship. Pete's going crazy. So like his career this year, like he's just rocking it, and these guys are about to win. A few miscues on their team cost them the game. I believe they could have won, had a few changes made, and I'm sure you know.
So during these championship games, usually hundreds of people show up, right, to watch.
Correct.
Nobody showed up because that's what kind of favorite we were to win that game.
Yep.
Mother Nature decided she wanted to play too, so she was below. There was probably 30-mile-an-hour winds that day.
Yep.
We were a passing team, every pass Roy threw, it just wagged in the wind.
Sure.
So as you were talking about a domino effect, my inclination at halftime, or my coach's decision, was supposed to be to pull Roy, a throwing quarterback, and put Pete in, who could throw but was a running quarterback. And we would have won that game. You guys would have, Pete would have celebrated with us, and you guys would not have left until the next day.
Probably.
Just the domino effect thing of life and how
And how it works
everything's
the
a
way-
split second. Yeah.
Yep. So from that point, it even more of it came on.
Yeah.
So by the time, he was pissed as hell
Oh,
because
yeah.
and I'm sure you guys all were, because you had the greatest season on that one. It was a perfect season. He goes back. He's living with Neil at this time. Just because he had moved as well, because his mom made a move to no, actually she didn't move to San Diego yet, but Neil and Pete were together, and Neil was helping Pete load everything too as well, and got it ready. So while they were doing that, I did the final touches, went in to go see my brothers and hang out with them a little bit more too, and that was really it at that point in time. And about 1:30, I ended up going to eat at Honey Tree. Used to be on 14 Mile and Orchard over by where Marvelous Marvin's and all that is over there. Used to be.
Tally Hall.
Yep, Old Tally Hall. So we went to go eat there about 1:30, and it was myself, Pete Raban, Jason Garmo, Renee Situ, Lydia Boji at that time, and Marie Gabriel at that time, and we all were good friends. Renee ran a little bit late. She was running about 45 minutes late, and she just ended up popping up finally to come eat with us and hung out. And I never knew why. She says, "I'm sorry, I was running late and whatever." And she was a very close friend of mine. She still is. We're good friends. And we ended up finishing about 1:30. We left. We went to go back to the houses to load stuff into the truck while I was sitting outside of Neil's, because Pete's was the final stuff. So about 2:30, started looking for the keys for the truck. They were nowhere to be found. I started going frantic. I said, "Shit!" So mind you, again, here's another.
Wow. Yeah.
Okay. So we're supposed to leave at 2:30, and I'm scrambling, going back to Strawberry Lane, going to Neil's, looking for everything everywhere, not thinking anything. It took me until 6:30, 7 o'clock at night to remember we were at Honey Tree eating, because I didn't think I would have left it there.
Right.
I called up, and the owner's son, Robert, picked up. I didn't know him well at the time, and I said, "Hey, Rob," he said, "It's Robert." I said, "By any chance, did somebody leave a U-Haul ryder truck? Did anybody leave the keys over there?" He said, "Yeah, actually they did. They're sitting over here. So in one big keychain." I said, "Shit, man." I said, "Okay, well, I'm coming to pick it up." I leave. Pete, at that time, we really couldn't do it off of these cell phones, and there was no Garmin at this time.
Yeah.
You were using MapQuest online, and then you were getting directions, printing it out. So Pete was doing that while I was rushing to go get the key, came back, and finally, it's now about 7:45, 8 o'clock. We're ready to roll. So we're already delayed by about 5 hours right now at this time, a little over 5 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And so we get on the road, and it's okay for me to mention this, because people are well aware of it these days, and
Maybe you shouldn't.
I smoked cannabis a lot when I was younger.
Yeah.
I was sober as can be at that time.
Oh, there you go.
There was nothing in my system. None of that was even in thought at the time. And I got on the road. Before I got on the road, and I'll say this so you guys understand why and what. One of my friends gave me a little bag to take with me to celebrate when I got back over there.
Okay.
Because I knew over there I would never run into that stuff, because I didn't know people to go for that.
Sure.
So I was perfect. I was cleaning my life around. So we get on the road, and we're about 4 hours into it. We're in this box truck, 24-footer. Everything's loaded, and it's about 12 o'clock at night, and I pulled over to the gas. About 11:45, midnight, I get into the gas station, and I said, "Pete, let's just get some gas, stretch our legs out." And
So you got about how long?
it's an 8-hour drive to St. Louis.
Okay.
So say 9 by truck, because you can't go as fast as you want
Sure.
to. So I stopped at about closer to midnight at the gas station. I was already an hour outside of Chicago, because the way you cut through, you don't go back up north to get to Chicago. You stay down south of it, because you're going to cut right back down to get to St. Louis.
So you're already on the road for a few hours for
Yep,
2 or
about a
3
good
hours.
4 hours now.
Okay.
Yep, about a good 4 right now we're in. And I did this tour for about 3 years with Page Towel prior to this. I traveled all through Midwest. Didn't give it. You guys, I would get up at 8 o'clock in the morning, leave Southfield, party with these guys until 6 in the morning, and head back to Southfield for home, all on no sleep. You know, just because I had an energy to do so. So we stopped and we got to the gas station, and when we got there, it was, let's fill up gas, but hey, there's a Taco Bell. Why don't we get something to eat while we're here? Because we got another, and I looked, probably another 4.5 hours before we go anywhere. Like, let's do it. We ate. Mind you, I never did this when I traveled. I never ate because, you know, you get fit, you get heavy.
Fatigue.
Yep. I get to the car, and we pulled to the side of the gas station, and I said to him, I looked over and I said, you know, want to rest here? He's like, man, it's uncomfortable because there's no reclining, there's no anything, you're firm standing up. I said, then do this. You sleep for an hour. He was in the passenger. You sleep for an hour, and we switch. I'll wake you up, I'll pull over, and we'll switch up so that way you can take on the ride for it as well. He's like, that's fine, that'll work. I took my shoes off, sat back in my socks and pants, and had my long sleeve shirt on. I don't care for coats. I just get warm quickly, so I took it off, and I got on the road. It's about midnight now. We get on, and we're on one freeway, and I'm gunning it, doing every bit of 75 miles an hour. That's the max is what the truck is going. And it's not like you have MP3 players or stuff that you can listen to these days. You're scrambling from station to station because you're crossing city to city.
Yeah, and you're in a U-Haul.
Yeah, that's it. And I'm in a U-Haul. Zero comfort, zero
Right.
anything at all. And literally took 15 minutes after leaving that gas station. I just had both hands on the wheel. I just passed out and drove directly into the median at about 75 miles an hour. As soon as I hit that median, the quick impact woke me up. But I mean, when you're going through this and you wake up from that shock, you're not waking with a clear head like, oh shit, I'm in an accident right now.
Yeah.
My first intuition was grab the steering wheel, because when I hit it, the truck hit it and went this way for a second, like on an angle. Because of the impact, I started riding the guardrail and the wall. That I grabbed the steering wheel thinking if I ripped the wheel back down quick enough, that it would let me just land it back down, like the movies.
Yeah.
It wasn't the movies.
It's actually the other way.
Yeah.
It's this way to come back down.
Well, I was on this way.
Well, you were heading.
Naturally, you'd think.
I tried ripping this way. Well, when I had my hand on the wheel, I didn't realize this at the time until later, obviously, until I see everything. But when I hit that wall, because you have extended mirrors that are out on these trucks, that first impact shattered the window in.
Mm-hmm.
So it smashed it in. When I had my hand on the wheel and tried to do that, the airbag opened up. When the airbag opens up, it blows you back for a second. Well, my arms blew wide back this way. Left arm went out the window. When the arm went out the window, it was the guardrail or something that was there that just completely ripped it off. So it was already gone before I was even done tumbling the truck. So as it finished, it rode it this way.
So it was not.
It wasn't severed where it was. You see it hanging.
It didn't get thrown off.
It was cut completely right off.
It was gone.
It was a complete tear.
It was in the street.
It was gone in the street, already out the window.
Your arm was gone.
Gone.
Wow.
So what it did was, when it blew me like this, and my arm was out the left window, whatever it was that I was riding at that point came in and just took it with it.
Yeah.
So it just ripped it. So it was never a clean cut from the start.
Mm-hmm.
It finished tumbling. I landed on my side of the truck this way, so my wheels are facing the other side of the freeway, and the top of the truck is facing the freeway. So now I'm just looking at this vertical window. Well, Pete's with me at this time, and he was sleeping this way. So by the time that I finished
Pete's
tumbling,
your little cousin, right?
no,
Like,
my older.
I was older.
I'm the little cousin to them.
Oh, okay.
Yep,
okay.
I'm the little go wide to all these guys. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So he's knocked out for a second when he was sleeping. So when he didn't even know what happened. So when the truck went this way and came back, and the way I can tell all this to you is by the outcome of everything.
Mm-hmm.
His face was all black and blue here. He hit the door so hard, he blacked out. He ended up turning over, and he landed on the dash of the truck. That's when shit hit the fan. That when it stopped tumbling, I knew how bad things were, because the whole cabin was just rocked to hell.
Mm-hmm.
I went to go look for the cell phone. At that time, it was the Nextel i1000 flip phone. So I looked at it. It was shattered. I couldn't even make a call. I'm trying to dial 911 out. Can't do it. The red light was on it, so I couldn't make a call. I'm like looking at him right now. I'm like, holy shit, is this guy dead? Like, what's going on? Mind you, I don't even know about this at this time.
Right.
I leaned over to go pick him up, and I said, God damn it. And I looked over and I said, oh shit. My long sleeve shirt wasn't long sleeve anymore.
Wow.
Okay. It was about this level here, just sitting there, and that's all I had. And I realized, and I said in my head, excuse my language, I said, oh fuck, I lost my arm. So as I bent over to go get him, praying to God that nothing has happened to him, even in my state of mind, I was more worried about him that I lifted my hand, I put my hand under his head to see if he was okay. Well, unknowingly, my hand was over his head and was dripping blood on
all
him.
over him, yeah.
So the back of my hand now has got blood all over it. So now I'm thinking, oh shit, I just killed this guy. So, being frantic, I slapped his face to wake him up. I didn't know any better.
Yeah, that was actually the right thing to do, I think.
He jumped up for a quick second. When I tell you probably about 10 seconds quickly went and he was out, he said, what the hell happened to you? Who hit you with a watermelon? And he was out. And I had no clue what he was talking about. And I said, oh shit, and I'm looking above me, and here's the driver's door. I'm standing on the passenger door at the time, trying to get this guy to get up. And I'm saying, how the hell are we going to get out this damn thing? Screw it. Barefoot with just socks on, I just busted out that front windshield. And I said, you know, there's going to be only one way out. Threw it on my hip. I wrapped my arm around his chest, went forward with the shoulder because it was no use, and dragged him out this way until I securely put him down on the side of the road. Well, because at that time it's not what today's day and age is, you get found with cannabis, they're going to tell you it's your fault. You were using an illicit drug at the time. I had the conscience clear enough to walk across the freeway and throw that bag my friend gave to me over that freeway into a ravine. Came into the middle of the freeway, stood there, and like I told you guys, it was almost like a scene out of Night of the Zombies. You got a guy that's bleeding in his face. You got a guy that arm's gone. I'm dripping blood all over the freeway. You got another
4
guy.
in the morning.
It's not. No, it's actually now about 12:30 at night. And mind you, it's not just that it's 12:30 at night. I'm like this in 30-degree weather. It's mid-November. Okay. So I'm waving for help. One truck goes by, and one car goes by. Next car goes by. Finally, it's a semi truck driver. He squawked. Everything I can tell you right now, it's still lingering in my head. The sounds, everything. He screeched and halted to a stop, and he came running over with his cell phone. He called 911. He said, you know, you need to get somebody out here as soon as possible. We got a guy who's lost his arm, and he's bleeding all over the place. So we walked over to Pete. He's looking at him. Pete has he's unclear what he's a little bit up right now, but he's foggy as hell. The guy's asking him questions, and he's not even responding rightly to him. So the engine was still running. I had to run back in, turn the damn engine off just in case it would have blown. You don't want nothing to happen. Ran to that windshield, kicked it off, threw the key down. Came back to him, and finally a state trooper pulled up. When the state trooper pulled up, at that time, I've asked a lot of officers in the past 20 years, many didn't hold tourniquets on them when they got to you. A lot of first aid kit was there, but not the tourniquet. He didn't have one on him. Tourniquet is what wraps and stops the bleeding. He just took a blanket over my shoulder, and he said, son, it's better if you sit down for a second. And I looked him dead in the eye, and I said, I'm not going out like this. So there was 3 things running through my head at that time. One was, is my cousin Helen going to be pissed that I just did this? She was a sister to me, and Pete's like my brother, so I'm thinking, shit, I just hurt this guy. 2, I was thinking, how am I going to be in life right now? I just lost this right now. I can't die right now. It's not the way I'm going to go. And 3, I said, you can't go this way because that's not how you left your mom's promise. And that's what I was worried about. I said, hope to God nobody calls and tells her a damn thing.
Right.
So it's now about 12:30, 12:35 at night, and they get me in the ambulance. First one arrives, and I still didn't know the severity of it. They tear my shirt off, they cut it open, and that's when I looked over, and I was like shook from hell because my bicep was still there, my tendons were there, but my arm was still gone up to here. So it was such a bad cut that the best way I can explain it to you is take a crab leg, crack it in half, and you pull that crab leg off,
Oh, wow.
and the inside's there, but your outer is gone. That's what happened because of the tear versus, full cut. And I kept saying to them, stop the pain. And she said, I'm sorry, we can't. And then I was looking, and I said, man, I might not make it. So Pete's at the end of the cabin of the ambulance sitting there, and I still see him in my head, and he was in a fetal position. And I said to him, Pete, take care of Omar just in case something happens. And he said, why? And when he turned around and he looked, he shrieked. And mind you, I had already told him this 3 times, I lost my arm, I got into an accident. He just wasn't coherent to it. That when he turned around, he yelled at the top of his lungs, oh my God. And then he just shrieked, and the lady said, get him out of here. I didn't know what that shriek was at this time, why he did that. I was just still in shock. So they finally put the tourniquet on, and they said they can't give me nothing for pain because if they did at that time, they wouldn't be able to tell any other parts that are broken in my body or anything that could be happening along with it.
Right.
I get to the first hospital, Morris Township Hospital, and I arrive. It's probably now closer to 1. Doctor gets in, and he starts talking to me and this and that, and I didn't care about my arm. I just kept looking at him and said to him, what happened to my cousin? He said, we're not sure yet. I said, okay. In my mind, I'm thinking, damn, not only did this happen, but like, how could you do that to him? I take responsibility for what I do to others, but never to myself. And that's where my conscience was at the time. So I said, can you give me something now? He said, I still can't. He said, listen, we found your arm. It was on the side of the road. We've got it in the ice box. We're going to have to fly you right now immediately to downtown Loyola, which is in Chicago. And I said, all right, do whatever you got to do. And I said, listen, if you got to call anybody, don't call my mother. Figure whoever Pete tells you, call that person. He said, no problem. So I had to quickly sign for blood transfusion because I was down to only a few pints of blood at this time in my life. And so they quickly did that. I had to go through quick transfusions. On the way there, they were, giving me what I needed. I finally, probably around 2-something right now, and I'm in the helicopter with Pete now finally, for the first time since we got into the accident. His feet are here, his head's up there, and I'm here, and we're both, and I see him locked in a little tighter than I was, and I wasn't understanding why. And I said, what happened to you? He said, something with my neck. They're not sure. He said, but they got me in a brace. And I said to him, but can you feel your feet? He said, yes, I can. That gave me relief. As long as he could feel his toes, I knew that he wasn't going to be paralyzed.
Right.
Little did I know that I could have caused it. And that's why they say don't touch people when they get into these accidents, because you could make something more severe. But luckily, God gave me the ability to not do that to him. So he said one thing, and then the choppers kicked off. He said, why didn't you wake me up to get me to drive? What do you answer?
Yeah.
I was tired and just fell asleep. At that point, the propellers kicked in. There was no more conversation. He couldn't hear me. I couldn't hear him. We get to Loyola, and now we're there. And while we're in Loyola, they wouldn't put us in the same room. I went to ICU. He was taken to, and we're at separate floors. It's now closer to 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. Finally, the doctor comes in, and he says to me in these words, I'm sorry, we can't save your arm. It went out the window. What happened was it hit between the truck and the wall, and it was mangled so bad that we can't attach it. I said, that's all I needed to hear. Put me to sleep now. At that time, I was preparing for surgery, so I had a little bit more time. He said, that's coming soon. About half hour in, they got me into the surgery table, and he said to me, "You're gonna be okay." As soon as I seen that needle go through the IV, I knew it was my time to sleep. Passed out. I didn't wake up till about 11 o'clock the next day. It was probably about 4:30 before the first surgery kicked in. And I woke up because my aunt opened the door. My Aunt Saad, the one I lived with. And she peeked her head around the curtain, and she held her hand over her mouth because she didn't want to show me the emotions. She walked back out after saying a word to me, and about 15 minutes later, my brother Omar and Helen walked in. And Omar, being blind, he didn't really get to see how bad it was at that time. So Helen walked over to this side of the bed, and she said, "You doing okay, JB?" I said, "Yeah." I said, my first words were to her, "What happened to Pete? Tell me, Pete, what happened to Pete?" And she said, "Well, he fractured his C6, which is what attaches you from becoming paralyzed."
Wow.
And she said, "He's going to be in a brace for a while." She said, "But don't worry about him. Worry about you." I said, "I got you." She walked over. She lifted my blanket. And I looked over with her. And my arm was wrapped up in cloth up to this point. And that's when shit really hit the fan at that time. And I realized I'm never going to get this back. So it's now new life. But I got a second one. So I didn't even have time to even think about it because I had two people to worry about. My cousin Pete and my mom back home, right? By the time 2, 3 o'clock came around, that lobby was full of everybody. My friends, my family, they all came out to see what was going on. And when that happened, I started becoming overwhelmed. And it was my first time experiencing an anxiety or panic attack. So the nurse asked everybody to leave. They got them out. It's probably around like 5, 6 o'clock now. I put my eyes down. I closed my eyes for a minute because I'm still sedated a little bit from all the anesthesia that they gave me during that. So I get up and around like 12:30 at night. And it was like the only time I really had any sleep. That's just because of what they were giving me. Yeah. And I was woken by 2 nurses. They came in and said, "We got to give you a bath. We got to clean you up from some of the stuff that you have on you," because my face still had like all the scraps and stuff in there. There was so much glass on my face that had hit in parts of it. I pulled out glass out of my cheek 6 months later.
Oh, wow.
You know, because it felt like it was a pimple and I'm rubbing it. It kept hurting. Wow. And I went there with a tweezer and pulled it, and it was a little piece of the glass coming from my cheek. As they were giving me this sponge bath and cleaning me up, I'll tell you 2 things. They started cleaning my feet, and I kept twitching. I was hurting, and I didn't realize why. But when I kicked out that windshield, there was a lot of glass in my feet. They had to go in and pick out the glass from my feet, clean all that up, and get me in order for that. I'll tell you something that hurt me very bad with the experience of these hospitals and these medics. I had my bag returned to me the next day with all my personal belongings to be in my room. It was my wallet. I even had a speeding ticket in my pocket I was taking care of and whatever. And I had $300 in my pocket and they stole it. It's like sad, you know what I'm saying? To say like, you know, all that I went through right now, you couldn't even return my money that was there. It's not like, you know, so I did, you know, I just consciously knowing like whatever. But Tuesday comes along, we have half the family here in Chicago and half the family in Michigan dealing with my mom. Okay. So we're in 2 separate places dealing with 2 dilemmas right now.
And she has no idea that this is happening. Everyone was informed to keep quiet, and they did. I
specifically asked that. One wish is to not say nothing to her, and that I would recover enough that in 6 months to a year, I would come visit her. I would play it that I was so busy in St. Louis that I would get to her when she recovered from her cancer to give her her fair chance at recovery. Right. So it's, through the week of November 15th, I had people coming, going. The one who stayed, I'll even give credit to my cousin Reno Petros. The guy never flew in his life. He took He took that flight to come to me to see me. And my brother said that on the way home, because they took the flight back together, he said as strong as my brother Omar is, he never felt how strong Reno could be holding on as during takeoff because he was so scared. But I give that kid credit for coming at that time and making me the first flight out to see me. So again, I just kept reading, don't say nothing back. But I kept trying to call back home to talk to her.
Yeah.
Just to kind of let her hear my voice, to let her know things are good. I'm in St. Louis, feeding her lies. But I never got a chance.
How long was your recovery? Before you went? It was only a few weeks though, right?
Before
you had to go home.
Well, November 15th it happened. Neil stayed with me the whole week. God rest his soul. That
I
man
interrupted you.
stayed with me the whole week. He stayed by my side, and the reason he did that, he knew what they need to give me and not give me. He went through so much of this that, you guys, those pain pills they give you, they mess your head up. Whether you're going through what I went through or whether you're just taking them on a day just for recreational.
Yeah.
Those things affect your mind. That by the Thursday in on that week, I grabbed my IV when he was sleeping because they were coming in to give me another. I chased the nurse down the hall and cussed them every name in the book you can imagine because I was losing my mind.
Yeah.
You guys, I was seeing things at about 1 o'clock in the morning. I would see things on the wall. I wasn't sleeping. They were trying everything in their power to pull me to sleep. I couldn't. I was
They're
having
constantly,
panic and anxiety.
feeding you
Every
meds.
time my eyes would close, I would jump up in a frantic, because you're thinking, shit. I ate nothing during the week. I had half a cheeseburger that Jason Abro got me. Jason had come to visit me too. Him and Simon Savaya. They were with me. They went and bought me clothes. Him and Dennis and all these guys bought me clothes from the Nike store just to, to help me change and when I was there. And I had the support. That's what Chaldeans were doing for me. They were giving me the
that's great.
support that I needed. But my concern was never me. It was everything in around me, but me, that by the time the week ended, they weren't letting me call my mom and talk to her. And I had a bad gut feeling. Something was just going wrong.
Because now they're trying to protect you from...
Not knowing what's really happening.
Right.
Nobody was telling me. So it happened November 15th on that Monday morning. The following Monday, the nurse comes in, and I did have a second surgery during that week. They had to reopen everything back up, clean it all back up because they didn't want gangrene to build up. Gangrene is where the infection can happen and spread and kill you. So because of all the stuff that happened, and it wasn't a clean tear, they went in, cleaned it. So I was already in my second one. Monday came along. I said, man, I can't deal with this shit no more. I picked up the phone. I said, Neil, the nurse is going to be here in about 15, 20 minutes. I'm telling her I'm checking out. See what the flights you can do for me. I don't want to be here no more. He goes, are you sure? And I said, I couldn't be more positive, buddy. I said, my mom, something's wrong.
Yeah.
Nurse walked in. And I looked at her and I said to her, please give me the paperwork to check out. I'm not doing rehab or anything right now. Whatever you're trying to do, I got to go. She goes, Mr. Binno. She's like, you went through 2 surgeries? I said, ma'am, listen.
I gotta go.
I got to go. She's like, okay. She's like, it's going to take about an hour to get your checkout. They can't hold you against your will.
Right, of course.
So she said, I'll get you an hour, but they recommend as much as they can keep you there, right?
Yeah.
And I went ahead, had Neil get the flight. He came to pick me up. I got on that flight home. It was hell because you're dealing with the pain and you're dealing with turbulence and all this, and I haven't experienced it yet to be in the outside world.
Yeah.
You're getting the stares, the jeers, people looking at you. You're a guy with missing arm now.
Yeah.
And my face was still like cut up. So then we flew back home, and I said, I gotta hurry up and get to the hospital. And they said, no, you don't. They said, you need to just rest for a few days, and then we'll get you to the hospital, and you can go see mom. I said, sure, that's fine. I said, listen, I'll play it right. I'll do it so I'll hide it. I'll pretend whatever. They said, just wait a week. Let's just ride it. She's gonna be out. And I'm thinking in my head, you know what? Maybe they're all right. Mom's a fighter. She's already been through hell and back, and she can fight. So it was that week. I just was overwhelmed with friends and people that wanted to see me. So I thought it was in my good interest to go to Outback Steakhouse and have everybody that I needed to be around there be there. Well, nobody really talked or understood what panic attacks were.
Yeah.
Probably about 20 minutes into being there. So many people there that the majority of that place was sold out to Chaldeans.
Mm-hmm.
I got up, I left. I asked Jason Garmo at that time if he can drop me back off at Neil's house, because that was one of the only people that could soothe me. So I ended up going back over there, stuck it out with him, chilled, and I rode the week out being there and living with Marianne. And Marianne lived in Detroit at the time because my brother-in-law worked for the mayor. So if you worked for the city, you had to live in the city. So it was like toggling. And I didn't even go back to my own mom's house. You know, it was too much going on, and I didn't want to reminisce at this point in time. So we rode the week out between Marianne's and Neil's. So now the following week, end of November, on to December, I was on my way to Pagetown to go see everybody over there. I was called to come over there, and it was Wednesday, and I got the phone call on the way there. It was my brother-in-law, Mike. He said, turn of events, she's going for the worst. We're going to have to get you there tonight to go see her. I'll take you so it doesn't look obvious with the other siblings. I said, okay, sure. So I put the clothes on. I stuffed my sleeve with a newspaper all the way to my pocket, and figured, hey, she's not gonna see, and in her state right now, I don't even think it can even phase her, whatever she's gonna see.
Right.
I get there, man, she's so goddamn sedated from that radiation. Her color of her skin is different. Her that personality that everybody knew about her was drained out. It was gone. First thing she said to me, and the last thing she ever said to me was, "Huh, Bobby?" And then she didn't say nothing else after that. She just stayed there, laid there, eyes rolling. I had to leave. It was destroying me more inside. I didn't even have time to recover from my situation because I was so in tune into hers. So Thursday we're at the hospital now. All of us are there because they're saying now it's the point of getting her to the hospice and get her home. And so aunts, uncles, friends, family, everybody's over there. And I'm in there with it the whole time. And I'm on pain meds. So you're blocked from certain emotions. Like I'm just more into like jitters and just like feeling damped, you know, and just really mad at God at this time because everything. And I asked, if I lost my arm to him, is it fair you keep her? And it doesn't work that way. There's no trade-off. There's no I lose this, you gain that. Mm-hmm. So we left her Thursday night. We're ready for tomorrow to get her for hospice. It was probably 3 o'clock in the morning now, and I'm staying at Marianne's house in Detroit. I used to stay up every single night from when I got to the car accident until I was at her house. I stayed up every night looking out that window. I stayed up to the point where I got to see the General Motors building close down. Remember when they moved from there to the Renaissance?
Yeah.
They used to have that red General Motors sign on there. I watched it till they turned that last sign off. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't sleep. So I said, you know what? I bet you Omar's awake right now. Mm-hmm. It's probably 3:30 in the morning. I picked up the phone, turned the lights on. I sat there with him and I said, how you doing, bud? He said, good. We talked for a couple of minutes, and then he said, hold on, I got another line. It was 3 in the morning. I said, what the 3 in the morning, another line. So I'm just sitting there, just pacing, you know. He comes back, he said, hey, that was Angelo. He just called and said that, he's like, Sam took off right now. He said he's on the way to the hospital right now, but they don't know why. He just took off. And for some reason, I had a bad feeling why. So as I'm talking to him, telling him, you think we should get over there? I said, we can't come pick you up and then head because it's on 13 Woodward, you're all the way in Farmington. He said, just do what you got to do. So my sister sees my light on in the room. She wakes up and walks over to me and says, what's wrong? And I said, I think we got to get to the hospital. She said, why? I said, because Sam's on his way there right now. We need to just get over there and do what we got to do. Mm-hmm. We get in the car. I remember she had the mom's minivan at this time, and she's flying down Woodward from her house in Detroit. And I let her walk in first. And when she screamed, I knew the situation. And I knew my mom was gone. So I walked in there, and about 3:30 a.m., 4 o'clock, she was already gone. We didn't get a chance to get her to come to the hospice for the home. So we stayed there with her for a couple hours, and we got everything arranged. took off, and started the next day like it was a dream, like nothing was real. So, you know, it was a little different for us. We didn't have the opportunities back then to be able to blast off when something happened. There was no social media to tell you and say, look, she passed at this, and this is where funeral arrangements are. Anybody and everybody who knew by word of mouth at that time. And back then, Jerry Yono had it where you do like your 2-day funeral services. You know, it's changed now, thank God. I love my mom for this. All the pain and struggles she went through, she never wanted sympathy. She never wanted that. And she said specifically, if I ever pass, I don't want any of those women singing stuff at my funeral.
Yeah.
We kicked them out. That's what she wanted. You know, you don't need them to make me cry.
Right.
I already have so much pain deep inside right now from what just happened to me. So we went through a couple of days of this, and then finally, you know, I stayed with Mary Ann. This is now her funeral, and a lot of people showed up. A lot of people know her. A lot of people still remember to this day. She's known for her dirty jokes. Mm-hmm. She was known to always give and not much receive. So I'm coping with this. I didn't even care to talk prosthetic. I didn't even care to talk about what's going on with my arm or nothing like that. I do give credit, major, to two people. Neil was there for me to guide me through things that I didn't need to take and should take. But while this happened and after this happened, you guys, I was pounding so much pain pills. It was disgusting. It was going from Percocets, Vicodins, Tylenol 3s, 4s, morphine, whatever they can give to try to get me to switch. My weight had gone down to nothing. It ruined my stomach. I've got bad acid reflux from it because I was taking it dry on dry, empty stomach. So I'm going through this and dealing with this, and I was like, man, Dr. Situ was the other person I got to give a lot of credit to. Dr. Emil Situ, he helped me. I didn't have a physician at the time. I wasn't going back to Chicago to go deal with the doctors that operated on me. So I had stitches still in that needed to come out. I had x-rays that needed to be, you know, checked in it. You guys, I went from making great money to just being flat broke.
Yeah.
I had nothing. And all my stuff is half in St. Louis and here, and I'm scrambling around. You know, you have Rita Elias giving me shoes from her brother to wear for the funeral. I've got, you know, Larry giving me jackets, and my friends all stuck by my side. I had no clothes. When this happened, and we had our truck there, we had to have our stuff put into storage. Well, Helen went and took care of that, so we couldn't get nothing in time. She said when she went to go pick up the stuff on Tuesday that the cabin was so full of blood it was still filled in it when she got there. So anyway, I went through this, and I'm scrambling. I'm no money in hand, and you know, our accounts are still going on in St. Louis, and they're calling and going, you know, we're sorry what happened, we understand. And now I'm having Paige take them on directly because I'm not there. Pete's here with me. Pete's in a brace, a Miami brace. He was like this for 2 months. Thank God he didn't get to the halo. I think that would have crushed me more if he did, but he could not move left, he could not move right. He has fear of paralysis still to this day, and that means if he gets hit hard enough, he actually could become paralyzed. So anyway, we're here, we're recovering. I'm at Mary Ann's. We're working through it. My younger siblings, you know, they're burned out from the whole thing and from my situation. Then 3 weeks later, they got to deal with this situation. Finally, about a month and a half later, first and foremost, I stood in front of the mirror, and did it take some adjusting? Yeah. Just go try to clap. Mm-hmm. It's the first thing I had to realize. Go try to clap for somebody that you're proud of. Can't do it. So things started sinking in that I can and can't do.
Sure.
Well, what made it worse, and this is to all the viewers so they know, pain meds don't make pain better. They mask it. They mask your situation. They stop you from thinking the way you need to think, because all it's doing is putting you to sleep. It's not really taking care of the situation. It's not a healing property. So I looked in the mirror, and there's my pills here in the bathroom. I was pale as Casper, smelling like shit, looking like hell. Not that I didn't shower or anything, but the toxins that release when you take these medications are unbelievably, like, nasty.
Yeah.
And I walked downstairs and I said to my sister, I said, listen, if I continue taking those, I probably won't be here much longer. So I said to her, look, I know you hate to hear this, and I wasn't doing this, but I'm going to have to I'm going to turn to cannabis right now. I'm not saying that one addiction is better than the other. I don't want anybody ever taking that into consideration, that you can do one, it's supposed to surpass and say it's better than the other.
Sure.
The point is I became dependent on something to help me with another. But to understand that I go through pain every single day of my life. There hasn't been one day in 20 years that I've not walked and ached out of that house.
Yeah.
But I wasn't choosing those pills anymore. And I made that a point to her. I decided at that point, move back to St. Louis, spend a couple years there, still do what I gotta do. It wasn't a good idea. I needed help. That was a big issue. I masked it. First mask came with the pills. Then the second mask was, I'm a man. I could do this on my own.
Right.
You know?
Pride.
So I left. I did this a couple years. By the third year, I moved back over here. I was falling out with some of my friends who were there for me. I was talking shit to people that I shouldn't have, and this and that. And I realized I wasn't mentally right. There was something still there. Something was wrong. So I decided the first approach is get close back to family again. You got to get there first and start, because that's your support team.
Yeah.
I went there. I got back close with the fam. And then before I got my next job after I moved back here, I was flat broke off my ass. I didn't have a pot to piss in. I had $10 in my pocket that I stretched out for 3 weeks to a month. Nobody knew that I didn't have anything to eat, nothing in my pocket at all.
Wow.
I masked it again. I'd get to Marianne's house somehow and eat at her house without her knowing why I was eating there. Wow. Whether I liked the food or not, I still ate it. I exhausted everything out of my freezer that was frozen. I would figure ways for my friend Larry to pick me up in the morning to use his car, because I had no car, take him to work, and get my ass back over to him later to pick him up so I can get around. And finally I hit rock bottom, and just out of nowhere I got a phone call, and my friend said, do you want to work? And I said, yeah, what do you got? And I was into telecommunications. He said, I got a store in East Point. And I said, shit, I don't even have a car. How the hell am I going to do this? You know what I'm saying? And he said, we'll figure ways to get you there. He sounded like my mentality. Yeah. We'll figure a way. That's all it always was. No planning.
Right.
So he ended up getting me there at times, but I had to figure my way from 12 in Middle Belt to there and back from the east side. 7 months straight without a car. There was points that my friends from the east side would pick me up, get me to their houses, so my friends from the west side would come pick me back up from there. I wouldn't get home sometimes till 12:30 at night from working a full day.
So all this trauma from the mother to the accident to dealing with Pete to thinking about this person, thinking about that person, the pain, the pills, that's got you in a state of mind of what? Like
bitterness
and
helpless.
Okay. And so that created a PTSD? PTSD. I
still have it to this day.
Okay.
But now it's not PTSD. I'm going through post-traumatic syndrome growth. It's not a disease. Anybody who goes through anything traumatic in life will face it. It doesn't have to be a soldier coming in from war. Mm-hmm. It can be anybody who has experienced any type of shock in their life. The shock took on. I still didn't accept it for what it was worth. I still took the rug and covered it under. I ended up working at this guy's place. I ended up finding another job with my friend Taymor. He brought me on to Wireless Toys at the time. Mm-hmm. I'm working with him, still carless, driving back and forth with him. He's getting me to work. Finally, he's like, I got to get you a car. And I'm still in my mind going on cool as can be, man. I'm at Blue Martini partying away. I'm still dancing. It still didn't hit me the way it should have because I didn't have time. This happens to me November 15th. We're worrying about our mom, man. Yeah. December 3rd, you're putting her down. And you're thinking, shit, she's gone and I'm still here, man. Let me just move on and just go with it. Like, okay, it just happened. You lost an arm. Sometimes, Anthony, we make it look so easy that by perception, it is easy.
Yeah.
It's not, man. There's days that I go through hell. There's days that I have dark days. I've broken a lot of those spells, you know.
Did you ask for help? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Chris.
No, I was going to ask, like, so what are some of your daily struggles that you were dealing with about that?
Well, let's just say after all that time, I did well, got money back in, and I I didn't have issues in my head because I'm back to making $8,000 to $10,000, $15,000 a month. You're back. Hey man, excuse my language, but fuck the world. I'm having fun now. You know what I'm saying? My bank account's good again. Bills are being taken care of. What the hell do I care? I'm living like I lived before. Like it was like
So you're
I'm just
kind of
coasting.
on that same path.
I'm masking it and coasting the whole time.
The masking is the thing.
Yeah.
So masking, and you did not reach out for anyone.
Not
to
at this
anyone for
time
help.
still. That time came, was 2013. It was 12:30 at night. Things were better. I was dating. I was still accepted one arm or not. I was dating, and I just... It was the phone call I didn't want to hear. There was a woman in our life, Mona Sawa, all right, Mona. She took care of all of us, like all the cousins, her nieces, nephews, first cousins, whoever it was.
Yeah.
She was that same thing. That was our safe haven. You had a problem, you go to Mona. You wanted to eat, you go to Mona. Holidays, you're there. Well, the phone call came 12:30 from Ron Katu, who's gone through hell himself and back. And he's a doctor. He called, first call came in, I was like, shit, he's butt dialing. I didn't answer it, I disregarded it. 5 minutes later, that phone call came in, I said, he's not butt dialing. I picked it up and I said, hey Ron, he said, Jay, something bad has happened with Mona, you gotta get everybody, go get Marianne, go call whoever, you gotta get the cousins, get over here ASAP. I'm like, shit, well, what could it be, you know what I'm saying? So I call my sister, I call up, she's not picking up, I call my niece, I said, go get mom up right now, we gotta get up right away. I got my sister up first because she's very close with Tammy, which is Mona's daughter, but she was very close with Mona overall. She was her second mom. They did everything. Red Wings games, shopped, gossiped, did all the shit. So when I called her and said to her, look, I gotta come pick you up, something happened, Ron just called me. I had to call my cousin Jenny, I had to call my Aunt Nora. I called whoever I had to call, got everybody ready, got in the car. My mind's warped right now. All I'm thinking is, shit, 99.
Year 99.
So, she had a brain aneurysm, and it hit her completely hard. We got to the hospital about 1 o'clock in the morning. We slept there, all of us, that night. I had to go pick up her son, Leif, and Mikey and them, because they were living in KC, and we went back there, and it was hell, you guys. Here's the ironic part. It happened Sunday, took her till Friday and she passed. It happened to me Sunday night and took until Friday for my mom. I'm sorry, it took me on that Friday to watch my mom to pass too. Those days is just, when they correlate, it just makes you think. And we couldn't save her. There was no hope. So everything that happened to me in 99, back to your question, there was no help because I didn't accept it. It smacked me so hard for losing her that by the time then her funeral came and weeks after, the relapse came on hard. I had a great girlfriend at that time. I lost her. I didn't care about her anymore. Mm-hmm. My business declined heavy. I didn't go to the store much. I didn't care about it at all. Everything that I was doing, I didn't care about.
Figure what's the point anymore?
That's what I was looking at. Like, what is there to live for right now when these trials and tribulations keep coming at you?
So you fell into a really deep state of depression.
Deep state of depression. That my sister doesn't know this, and nobody knows this, but my girlfriend at that time called my sister to tell her that somebody needs a therapist, a friend of hers, but she doesn't know where to go and where to start. Because I couldn't ask my sister directly because she would have been overly concerned like a mother. I didn't want that. I wanted a reality check. She got me the therapist. By about third session in, I did the same thing again. I'm prideful. I'm a man. I'm going to break this spell. I don't need her to give me pills, and I asked her specifically, don't give me no Xanax, I don't want none of that stuff. I'm going to fight through it, whatever. Left out of there. Still dealt with it like shit. Pretended it again, masked it up. As long as I had Leif, Anthony, Tammy, Marianne, and my brother, like a family around, to me, I was good in my head. I still kept it quiet. They didn't know. And then finally, it was a year later, and I lost a lot. Financial situations started coming about. I got hit pretty hard. I had a deal that went bunk. I lost $250,000 on it. I was right back in square one. So I turned to someone I shouldn't turn to, but it was somewhat what saved me in its own way. He doesn't know this. I don't give him credit enough, but my brother Omar. The guy's blind. He deals with it every single day of his life. And I'm here with a loss of an arm venting to a guy while I can still drive a car and I can still hold a job and I can still date a girl. And I came to him with it all. And he explained to me, man, he's like, in the end, it's all about your faith, man. It's how you can take it on and how you can believe in things that they're going to be. Because in the end, you got to remember one thing. We're all going to land in that same place. Just do what you got to do to be making it right out here to get there.
Right.
He goes, listen, mom's loss, it's been a tough loss. So I think about it every day. She comes into my dreams all the time. He goes, I go through it. That's the sign of help that helped me to say, how much could I really cry about my life? And that was the biggest thing about today was I'm telling this story never for anybody to feel that my story is bigger than Chris, Anthony's, Mark's, or anybody here in this world. It's a story.
Sure.
And people struggle at different levels. So, I mean, for our viewers, like, we want them to understand that you're coming here to share your situation so that they understand that it is okay to ask, even though you didn't really ask for help.
Yep.
They should ask for help.
Yes.
They should ask
My
for help.
mistake should not be theirs.
Why should it have gone from 99 till
13,
now?
14 years later
There's
to
too
get
much
this.
time, man. Like,
Right.
you should have. We want everybody out there to understand that
Help is okay.
Yeah, help is okay.
It's okay. It's
And
not.
it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to be human. We're all human.
I hurt
Nothing
myself.
to be ashamed of.
Yeah.
I hurt myself.
You
I
hurt yourself. You hurt your family too.
Completely.
You know, you
Completely.
It's not being selfish to ask for help. It's being selfish not to ask
Not
for
to ask
help.
for help. And the biggest thing that I want most of our viewers to understand is we're facing a huge crisis right now in this country. It's an epidemic.
Yes.
Okay? We're losing you younger generation to what? Pills?
Younger and older.
Younger and older.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
saying we're
happening
losing to these
everybody.
pills.
Yeah.
I go through this struggle every single day. And again, I'm not saying that because I chose cannabis at some points over that made it right. But when was the last time somebody said they died from this versus dying from that? And again, I'm not soliciting. Never will I solicit. You ask any of my family members, I've never, ever wished upon any of them to do anything like this. But I do say this. For all of you that have contacted me through DM, some of you who have asked me for pain pills thinking that I may have them, I have not had them. I deal with this struggle daily. And I will continue dealing with this struggle daily in pain. But the one thing that you can get help with that does not require pills is mental health. We're facing a lot of problems with that right now. The parents aren't understanding how to deal with
the
it.
drug is just to mask it, like you said. There's an underlying issue.
Yes.
So whatever that issue is, whatever struggles or whatever impact you've had on whatever impacted your life, there's a struggle there. There's an underlying issue there. Fix that. Don't just mask it with drugs and pills.
No.
And that's not the answer.
No, drinking either.
Yeah.
Let's be
drinking.
real. That's a drug. Some people, just because they don't take pills, they still come home
Yeah.
on that rough day. They're hurting financially. They're hurting situation. They may not be ready to pay the kids' next tuition. They'll turn to alcohol.
Right.
Anything.
Well,
Help.
alcohol pays tuition. No, kidding.
Right?
Chris,
No,
so you
yeah.
had some questions for Junior, right?
Yeah, I was going to touch on something you said too. I think another issue is if someone's facing that, they need to come to terms with it.
Yes.
And face reality and not be in denial, because there's so many
Being
of us
faced
that are
with what?
being faced with the issues that they're struggling with, or
Sure.
with masking it by meds, or masking with medication. I think there's so many people that are willing to help, and I've experienced this with wanting to help people, but you can't help them unless they're willing to help
Accept.
themselves.
Yeah, of
accept
course.
it,
You
accept
have to
the fact
accept
that they have an issue, that they're dealing with struggles, and come to terms
If
with
they're
it.
dependent upon opioids or drugs, any kind of drug, the only way back is to hit rock bottom.
Sure.
So understand that you're going to hit rock bottom no matter what, regardless of whatever. Or you get help and then you avoid the rock bottom. And your parents have to be part of the solution. And part of the solution is being willing to lose a son or a daughter to regain them at a later time.
Yeah.
But if you're enabling them, then you are
Part of the problem.
part of the problem. You may not know it.
No.
And it's not easy, but you are being part of the problem if you're not part of the solution.
And I want to say something about that, huge in our community. I'm not shameful for what's happened to me. I don't have shame in what's going on. So
Well, obviously there was shame along the road. Like right now, you come out, you've been brave, you've courageous to come out and tell your story. But there was shame. There had to have been
it was
shame.
pain more than shame. Deep
Well,
down
you did
underlying.
not. You didn't get help. You didn't ask for help. That's shame.
Yeah, you can say shame and pride.
Well,
You
pride,
know,
yeah, it's the same thing. Pretty much.
pride can kill you.
Oh yeah.
Pride can kill you.
Oh, yeah.
That's the big issue that we have in our community.
It'll cost you time.
Yeah,
It'll
well-
cost you time. It'll cost you the ability to heal. It'll cost you a lot.
So that's the thing is that I want our community to understand is, would you rather be ashamed and prideful and lose that son or daughter, or would you rather be prideful? Would you rather open your pride up to letting us help your son and your child, because now you get to see them 20 years from now.
Absolutely.
Not everybody gets a chance like I did. Not everybody's going to sit there and wean themselves off of it that quick to be able to make that
You
comeback.
have to be willing to be vulnerable.
Yep.
You have to be willing to expose yourself. You have to be willing to
Yep.
open up and tell your truth.
Yep, I agree. And the biggest part about everything is our community. Everybody's got somebody.
Yeah, everyone knows somebody.
Everybody got somebody.
Our community is a blessing and a curse. The
Yes.
blessing part of it is that we know everybody and everybody knows us and everybody loves us and everybody cares for us. And then the curse is that we know everybody and we
So you don't want to talk
and
about
then you don't want
things.
to talk about things, right? So
and that's what
it's a double-edged sword, but yeah, I don't know a better community that I'd want to be a part of.
I agree.
I agree. I have a question. Maybe some of the listeners want to know. You struggle with certain things on a day-to-day because obviously you're missing an arm.
Sure.
Why did you never get a prosthetic?
Good question. First major reason was I didn't even have time to think about one, because within that 3-week span, you're so overwhelmed. Like he's saying, with the gift of the community, you have such an outpour. It wasn't social media, it was people calling you and coming to see you.
Yeah.
So you have that at first, which makes you lose sight of what you really got to do, because you feel like you're on top of the world in a way, because everybody's out there for you, rooting you on.
Yeah, you got it.
You got a fan club at that
Yes.
point in time. So you don't care and you don't think about it. And I went to St. Louis for a couple of years, so I started adjusting with it. When I came back in third year in, I actually did go see a couple doctors and stuff, and the guys that make the prosthetics and all. Both said the same exact thing to me. It's not like the leg, it's not like the foot. You don't have to have balance. You just need to be having the ability to still maneuver things with your feet, your legs, your hand. Everything is in motion. 75% of people give up a prosthetic. Prosthesis these days has increased on what it can do.
With the technology.
Technology
that's out there,
advances, well, because we had a lot of vets that came back from the war recently, you know, that were that, but it's still not the same. It's more for cosmetics. How am I going to look in a suit? How do I look in short sleeve shirts? You know, that's what it is. The full functionality, it's not as easy. I've lost too much of a limb to get as much as what some would. And then again, it was rehab and relearning experience over, and you got to deal with batteries and this and go. And I said, you know what? Again,
Well, technology is advanced since probably the last time you've looked into it. Maybe look into it again, and maybe it's something.
Would you consider it?
Yep. Yeah, there's a possibility it would. You know, so I don't have to have a sous chef. It's just so I can cook and do things, you know.
Yeah.
Plus, he wants to be the arm wrestling champion of the
Yes.
world again.
Yes.
Right.
Sometimes I want to slap people with my left.
yeah. The right's getting
Joking.
bored.
Yeah.
It's getting boring.
It's getting boring.
I remember we went to a restaurant, you and I, and he asked me to cut his burger, and I started cutting his burger,
Yeah.
and the waitress comes along.
Yeah.
She goes, "Oh, that's so cute."
She had no clue
She
why
had
he
no
was doing
clue.
it.
And then he's like, he did one of these, or he
I was
joked
like-
with her, messed with her, and then she turned
180.
bright red.
You hit him.
She
Why did you
she
just
didn't
take
know
off
what
your
to
shoe
say.
and cut your burger?
She did not know what to say.
I wasn't home at the time. She just didn't know. It's funny you say that because after owning like a cell phone store, I used to work with a couple of young guys. They used to always get a kick out of it. I used to work with Nick Hermes and John Soroki, and it was such a good squad. Like we had the best time. But the story, kind of after a couple of years of owning it, was like, okay, it's getting old. You fell asleep driving a car.
Yeah.
So then when they put me on the front and they would be in the back writing on the paper for the customer would engage, Jay, what happened to your arm?
Yeah.
And mind you, they'd already bought a couple phones years before. And I'm like, man, I was cutting through the D.
Yeah.
They were trying to carjack me. They saw the watch. So they blew my whole arm off and took the watch with it.
Shit.
What are you going to say, you know? But again, to what you're saying, my brother gave me the courage to be able to laugh it off and chug through it.
That's what makes you you.
Even
again,
off.
you have such a great personality. You're uplifting. You bring energy to a lot of people.
Thank you.
You
It's not
you're the-
easy.
You're the bright light in the room. I know. That's
why
what
I
I
want
mean.
people to know
That's
it's
why.
not
That's why I think it's
easy.
very, very important.
not
I think
easy.
it's great that you came out and shared your story with everyone
Thank
because there's a lot of people struggling with that,
Yep.
and they're wearing a mask.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
and
it's wearing them down.
sure.
The mask
Yeah.
that they have on
And
is
for you
wearing
to
them
come
down.
out and
That's when they
shed
start-
some light on the subject.
Yep. Just
You-
I would say I just wish anybody listening on this message. I don't listen. Your secrets are kept with me till the grave. I've helped many of you without even saying a word on this. Reach out, man. DM me. Tell me how you did it. You know, when I had a lot of people, I did a little overdose scenario multiple days across my Instagram. This was about a year ago. The course of what it takes to get to there, what happens when you go through that, then the depression and all that. Believe it or not, I wrote those stories based upon 3 women that were in our community that fought and beat that struggle. And also the other person who I didn't get it from him, but I won't say, and I hope to get him on one day. He's my boy, but he's done it too. He's gone through that, and today he's standing strong, and today he's married, and he's got a kid, and he's got another kid on the way. So it's like, you guys, what is bad today is better tomorrow. You know, and that's the biggest thing, is that it ends yesterday and starts over today.
Yep.
So I wish people would reach out to me. Hit me on that DM. Hit me, call me. My number is always out there. People can always reach out to me and just get at me. Because I'll tell you what, I'm still not over the fact. I'm still 20 years into it. It still tainted me. Today's 20 years for my mother. It still brings up scars, but at the end of the day, I'm fighting through it, you know, through faith.
Did you get advice or referrals to where you can go? Like, where would somebody
did.
go? Like,
I did.
Can we share that with somebody?
So back then, at that time, we didn't have things like the Chaldean Foundation these days. We didn't have Cal.
So what do you know about today? Like, where
Yep.
people can go to
Any
get
resources
today?
Stephanie Nofar is one.
Yeah.
We
Hope and
interviewed
counseling.
her.
Yeah.
She's good herself. If there's addiction, Ilham Qajbu, she actually works at a center. She can help those in need as well too for that. The Chaldean Foundation.
Yeah.
You know, Martin and his team, they have sources of people all around that can give us that ability to to get into it. But number one thing I really think is you got to see a therapist. You need that neutral person. You can't have me talking to Anthony or talking to you all the time, because I'm going to get the more love. You know, you need that tough understanding to say, listen, this is this and this is this, black and white. There's no in between.
Right.
So,
do you want to close out the session with a question?
Yeah. If you were in my shoes, what would you ask yourself that I didn't ask you?
probably, why have you still not received the help that you need today? Because I'm still not 100%.
So what's the damn answer, Junior?
I was just
Why
gonna ask
haven't
that.
you? Sorry.
No, go ahead. It's fine.
Why haven't you gotten the help? What's the problem?
It's
You want to practice what you preach, or what?
my stubborn pride.
Now it's
Yeah.
intervention time.
Yep. No, my stubborn pride, man. I hate it. It doesn't let me get over the
Yeah,
humps
but
I
you
need
know
to.
it. But
I
you
know
already
it.
know this.
Yes.
So
I'll tell you this.
put the pride aside and go get some help.
and
Be a Lions fan. No pride.
No pride. Just walk in.
Yeah, but
which is what I'm. I've been aggressively at church more often in the last couple of years.
Church is therapy.
I was gonna tell you,
Absolutely.
and we used to go together years and years ago when he was living close. We were going
We were
together.
both struggling at that time, going through our hard times.
Yes,
And
we were.
That's what brought me back.
Yes, and I was gonna tell you, I haven't gone to an actual therapist, which I probably should.
Okay.
And I can reach out to the ones that I know. Church does it for me, and I'll tell you what it does for me. During the Our Father, and we do the peace with everybody, is my time when I cry.
Yeah.
I do without anybody noticing. I let it out at church on Sundays, and probably 3 times out of the month, I go visit my mom after church, and I therapy by speaking to the cemetery.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I'll tell you what, that only goes so long. You still need an answer back.
Sure.
You still need an answer back. So that's it. Why have I not gotten help?
Well, why don't you make a promise today to me and your good friend Chris here that you will seek help.
That I will.
And you will put your pride aside and just go see a therapist.
Fair enough.
What could it hurt?
It's not gonna.
No.
It's not gonna. Fair enough, and that's what I will be doing.
Right, and we want all our viewers to do the same. If you have any issues, if you have anything that you just want to get off your chest, it doesn't even need to have to get to that. Just get out there and go find some help and go to church.
Yeah, yeah. Especially in our Christian faith, right?
Yeah.
So,
Why don't you close us out with something, Chris, since you're our special guest host. First one ever. Best one ever.
yes.
Our first guest ever.
I want to thank you guys both, first of all, for at least giving me this chance to do it.
Thanks,
And
man.
I thank you for the platform with Keeping Up with the Chaldeans.
This is your platform, brother. You ain't got to thank anybody.
Yeah, no, thank you for
None of
having
us would
me
be here if it wasn't
interview.
for you.
For me? For him?
Him.
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't be here if it
He's the one that
wasn't for
started
God.
it.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
Thank you.
No, I just want to thank you for having me come on here and as a guest and interview you. It means a lot to me because I know how close we are. Going back to just you fill the room with light. Nobody would ever expect it coming from you.
Thank you.
In a million years. Everyone, honestly,
No one would expect.
No one would expect the struggles that he's dealing with.
Correct.
Being the person that
Right.
Junior is.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Because everyone, like I said in the beginning of the show, everyone knows JB as the light of the party.
Thank you.
The energy in the room. It's just you bring so much.
Even Majid
You
gave
bring
me that
so much
love.
joy.
Yeah.
You do. You bring so much joy. From anyone that I talk to.
Appreciate it.
Anyone that anytime I bring up your name, I love that guy. He's the
Yeah.
best guy. He's
Yeah.
so much fun. He's so funny.
I'm sure I got a few boors in the crowd, but what do you
That
mean?
is how-
You're always gonna have
Listen,
that. But
They're the ones. Those are the guys that never got the gum.
They didn't.
They didn't get the
They
gum.
didn't get the gum.
So,
They didn't get the gum.
yeah, I just want to close with I commend you for that.
Thank you,
So
Chris.
for the listeners, you don't think that someone's struggling or dealing with mental health issues deep inside because they mask it
Sure.
with a personality like yourself and going through all the struggles that you've gone through.
Yep.
But it's real.
Everyone's got their struggles.
Absolutely,
They do.
everyone
Yes, they
does.
do. That's why I said my story's
real.
not bigger than anybody else's.
So,
Wow.
seek help. If
Some
you have any
will
questions,
question that.
reach out to Junior.
Yep.
Even myself, if I can help in any way, I'm happy to.
That's what we're here for.
Cool.
Yeah, Anthony. So,
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
I'll be there too. Thanks, guys.
Appreciate
Thank you both.
thank you very much for watching.
Thanks, you guys, for listening.
Bye bye.